हेडलाइंस आपने जानी, अभी आपको बराह रास्त लिए चलते हैं। इस वक्त तर्जुमान दफ्तर खारजा डॉक्टर फैसल हफ्तावार ब्रीफिंग दे रहे हैं।
The Indian Deputy High Commissioner on 7th September condemned the unprovoked ceasefire violations by the Indian occupation forces along the line of control. These violations were perpetrated in the Kui-Ratta sector and resulted in many injuries. Moving forward, Foreign Minister Qureshi addressed the 42nd session of United Nations Human Rights Council in Geneva on 10th September and highlighted the continued Indian atrocities in Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. He particularly asked the Human Rights Council to take the following steps. 1. Urge India to immediately stop the use of pellet guns, end the bloodshed, lift the curfew, reverse the clampdown and communications blackout, restore fundamental freedoms and liberties, release political prisoners, stop targeting human rights defenders, and fulfill obligations under the United Nations Security Council resolutions and various human rights instruments as required by international law. India's draconian emergency laws in occupied Jammu and Kashmir cannot be allowed to stand. Secondly, take steps to bring to justice the perpetrators of human rights violations of the innocent Kashmiri people, and in this context constitute a commission of inquiry as recommended by the Office of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights. 3. Authorize the Office of High Commissioner and the Human Rights Council's special procedures mandate holders to monitor and report on India's human rights violations in Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir and regularly update the Human Rights Council. Lastly, call upon India to allow unhindered access to human rights organizations and international media to Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. On the margins of Human Rights Council session, the Foreign Minister had extensive interactions and important meetings that included Director General World Health Organization, Ministers of Foreign Affairs of Senegal, Group of Ambassadors of OIC at UN Human Rights Council, President of UN Human Rights Council, and especially the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights. On 10 September, Pakistan got a major diplomatic breakthrough at the United Nations Human Rights Council by delivering a historic joint statement on behalf of over 50 countries from across various regions regarding the worsening human rights and humanitarian situation in Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. The statement underscored the extremely worrying human rights situation in IOJ and K, and especially following the decisions taken by India on August 5, 2019. The statement also stated that consistent with the UN Charter, the Security Council resolutions and human rights standards and international law, the international community should ask for 1. Respect and protection of fundamental human rights of the people of Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir, especially the right to life, liberty and security. Secondly, immediate lifting of curfew, ending the communications shutdown and release of arbitrarily detained persons. Thirdly, immediate halt to the excessive use of force, especially the use of pellet guns, access for human rights organizations and international media. Fourthly, implementation of the recommendations of OHCHR's Jammu and Kashmir reports. There are two, one you got last year and one this year, including the establishment of a UN Commission of Inquiry to investigate the egregious human rights violations. Fifthly, regular reporting by UN High Commissioner for Human Rights on Jammu and Kashmir. Lastly, support for a peaceful resolution of Jammu and Kashmir dispute through the implementation of UN Security Council resolutions. Pakistan welcomes the comments made by UN High Commissioner for Human Rights during the 42nd session of Human Rights Council in Geneva. We believe that UN High Commissioner's concerns and calls are consistent with the position taken by UN system vis-à-vis the human rights situation in Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir, including the continuing restrictions and crackdown on fundamental rights and freedoms of the Kashmiri people. We also appreciate the statement by EU in Human Rights Council, which said that EU had been following the recent developments very closely. The EU has encouraged Pakistan and India to avoid further tensions and refrain from provocations as a line of control, and urged both parties to engage in direct dialogue with a view to peaceful solution in line with UN resolutions and the bilateral agreements between India and Pakistan. Pakistan has also noted with appreciation the Chinese statement that said that with regard to the Kashmir issue, China opposes any unilateral actions that complicate the situation and give rise to new tensions, and hopes that the relevant parties will exercise restraint and avoid further escalation of the situation. China also took note of the 2 reports of OHCHR on the situation of human rights in Jammu and Kashmir. The human rights of the people in Jammu and Kashmir should be respected and guaranteed. Let me also inform you that Turkey has appreciated UN High Commissioner's remarks on Jammu and Kashmir and reiterated her call on the Indian government to ease the current restrictions in the region, saying, A, the decision of Indian government to abolish the special status of Jammu and Kashmir is against the spirit of various UN Security Council resolutions. B, it bears the risk of further deterioration of the existing tension and may have serious repercussions beyond the region. C, expressed the desire that Jammu and Kashmir dispute is resolved through peaceful means on the basis of relevant UN resolutions. Malaysia also expressed concern on the human rights situation in Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir and urged all parties to negotiate a peaceful solution in accordance with the UN resolutions. All these remarks and statements at the UN Human Rights Council overwhelmingly validate Pakistan's position on the worsening crisis in Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Therefore, India should stop misleading the international community and fully respect the right to self-determination of the people of Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. As part of continuing diplomatic outreach since our last briefing, Foreign Minister Qureshi has held telephone conversations with foreign ministers of Sri Lanka, New Zealand, South Korea, Iceland, Iran, Bangladesh. The detailed press releases in these regards have been issued. On 7 September, the foreign ministers of Pakistan, Afghanistan and China held the 3rd session of China-Pakistan-Afghanistan Foreign Ministers Dialogue in Islamabad. The 3 sides noted with satisfaction the progress made under the trilateral cooperation since the 2nd dialogue held in Kabul on 18th December. They reiterated their resolve to further deepen various strands of trilateral cooperation. Furthermore, the Foreign Minister held bilateral delegation-level talks with his Chinese and Afghan counterparts on the sidelines of this meeting. On 4th September, His Highness Sheikh Abdullah bin Zayed Al Nahyan, Foreign Minister of United Arab Emirates, and His Excellency Mr. Adil Al Jubair, Minister of State of Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, paid a joint visit to Pakistan. In their meeting with the Foreign Minister, the situation in Indian-occupied and Kashmir was